What's up, guys? Welcome to Whisky. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and every once in a while throw in other whiskey-related content. Today, I want to do kind of a very informal video. I want to go over things that happened in 2022, maybe discuss some plans for 2023. I've recently picked up quite a few whiskeys that I'm really excited to review, so I want to share those with you. And I also have a few more final awards to wrap up Whisky award season. So there's a lot to talk about today. Stick around. So yeah, this is kind of like a look back at 2022. We'll talk about things that happened in the world of whiskey. We'll talk about things that happened here at the channel. It's been a very interesting, a very eventful year, and I want to talk about it. And I guess we can just kick things off with the awards. Now, I've done all of the major categories this year. I've done my whiskey of the year, my non-budget whiskeys of the year, my special edition whiskeys of the year, all the major categories. But there are a few more awards that I want to dish out. And of course, I have a mystery pour in my glass. Stick around till later in the video. I'll let you know what that is. If you'll kindly leave a like, that'll be greatly appreciated. Let's hop in. All right, so our first category is going to be IB, or Independent Bottler of the Year. I don't talk too much about IBs here on the channel. I tend to gravitate more towards OBs when I'm reviewing, and that's just because they make more of them and they have a broader appeal. But some of the best whiskey to be had out there does come in the form of IBs, and there was one brand that kind of stood out to me a little bit more than the others this year. It's a relatively new brand, pretty new to the scene, but they're putting out some really cool bottlings. Guys, keep an eye out for Watt Whiskey. Some standouts from these guys this year for me were, I had a 13-year-old Glen Elgin that was fantastic. There was a 3-year-old Milk and Honey release, Israeli Distillery. Did not expect to enjoy that as much as I did. Really cool stuff. Price was okay as well. There was a 16-year-old Orkney bottling, which was a beastly Highland Park. Probably the punchiest Highland Park I've ever had in my life. Really cool. My favorite from them was probably a 16-year-old Highland release. They don't tell you the distillery, so there's no way to know that it is definitely Glenmorangie. That was amazing stuff. Keep an eye out for these guys. Our next award here is going to be Distillery of the Year, and if you watched my recent video about Whiskey of the Year, I hope you did, I'll link it up there, then this will not surprise you at all. My Distillery of the Year is Bruichladdich. I mean, come on. As I'm sure you guys all know, these guys are always naturally presented. They're very transparent. Pretty much anything they put out across their entire range, be it the Port Charlotte line or the Bruichladdich line, is going to be fantastic. They can be a little bit more premiumly priced than some other Isla offerings, but this is one of those instances where I really do think you're getting what you pay for. And coming from me, that means something. I'm very cheap. And finally, our last award for today is going to be the Travel Retail Whiskey of the Year. And I've actually got 3 here. So we'll do 3, 2, 1. In third place, I've got the Glen Grant Cask Haven. It's a really bright, clean, no age-stated whiskey. It's beautiful stuff. Highly recommended. In at number 2, we have the Old Pulteney 16. This stuff is very heavily sherried. It's surprisingly waxy. It can be a bit of a roller coaster. It can be inconsistent between sessions, but genuinely interesting and engaging stuff. And finally, at number 1, we've got Highland Park 18. This one is the Viking Pride at 46%. It's the black bottle, different from the standard release that comes in at 43%. Beautiful whiskey. I can't recommend this one enough. Fantastic. Check it out. It's a little bit expensive. I think it's worth it. An honorable mention here would be the Glenmorangie Accord 12-year-old. This one is a sherry Glenmo. I think it's way better than the standard release, the Lisanta, that's widely available. Massive step up. Pretty affordable, 1-liter bottle. Good stuff. Check it out. I know a bunch of you wanted me to try that Glen Scotia 16, which is another travel retail that I did not get the chance to check out this year. It's on the bucket list. I'll try and get around to it in 2023. What are you going to do? And I guess that's a wrap for Whisky award season for 2022, at least. Let me know your thoughts, guys. How do you feel about my picks? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your IB of the year? What's your Distillery of the year? Are there any travel retail bottles that you really enjoyed? Let me know down below. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to something that I think was at the forefront of pretty much every whiskey discussion in 2022. People were making a huge fuss about it, and rightly so. We're going to talk about price. As I'm sure you all know, whiskey shot up in price in 2022, and we felt it. Whiskeys like Lagavulin 16, Talisker 18, and even Oban 14 really went up in price this year. Of course, those are all Diageo products. So, Diageo really pissed off a bunch of whiskey drinkers in 2022. So I guess points for being consistent. So yeah, speaking personally, I am going to have to be a little bit more careful with my budgeting in 2023. I think we all have to be a little bit more careful with that. I don't think I have much to add to this conversation. I'm not going to say anything that hasn't already been said. So, if you ask me how I feel about the price hikes from 2022, fuck. Next up, I want to talk about my whiskey of the year. As many of you guys know, I went with the classic Laddie, which I've got right here. I absolutely love this whiskey. It was a controversial pick. Some people were on board, plenty of you disagreed respectfully, and a very small minority of people were upset, distraught, offended, which is baffling. It's a drink. To be fair, I was expecting a bit of pushback on that one. It is a zesty, metallic, very spirit-forward whiskey, and that's not going to suit everyone. And I thought it would just be fun to give you guys a bit of a curveball. I know a lot of you are expecting this, that, the other thing, whatever. And sometimes it's just fun to pull a rabbit out of your hat. It's still highly recommended. It's still my whiskey of the year. I 100% stand by it. Even if you disagree, it's all opinion. Guys, check it out. You may or may not like it. Check it out. You may or may not like it. That's a solid tagline. I should work in advertising. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about the channel. 2022 was a fantastic year for the channel. Lots of growth, lots of engagement. I'm genuinely flattered that so many of you tune in, you keep watching, you keep supporting. It's wonderful. So yeah, I have no plans on stopping. It is very time consuming, but I love doing it. It's very rewarding. I love interacting with you guys. I just love being on YouTube. I love the whole experience. Well, maybe not the whole experience. I still hate shooting. Now, I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I'm still not very comfortable in front of the camera. I have no idea why. Could be deep-seated insecurity. Could be the fact that I have to wear pants while I'm shooting. I am kidding, of course. I never wear pants when I'm shooting. And now that I've made you all uncomfortable, let's change the subject. I want to talk about some of my recent purchases. These are whiskeys that, I think most of these are whiskeys I'm going to end up reviewing on the channel. Some I won't, but I've never done this before where I just kind of like talk about whiskeys I'm excited to get to know and spend time with and possibly eventually review. So the first whiskey I've got here is Glenturret 12. This one is the 2021 release. I'm really excited to try this one. It's been hyped up by so many people. Unfortunately, this line is not sold in Taiwan, so I had to grab this one in Japan. So wonderful stuff. Just popped the cork. Really good so far, but again, gonna have to spend some time with it. Next up, I've got Hibiki 21. This is another one that I picked up in Japan. We're getting a little bit fancy here. This is not a whiskey I would normally go for. They did have a special sale, and actually if you guys are flying into Narita, into Tokyo for the next little while, they do have a limited time special where you have stuff like Hibiki 21 here, there's Hakushu 18 and Yamazaki 18. All of them are selling for 50,000 yen, which is roughly 375 US. It's only available at the airport for those of you who might be flying to Japan. It is still expensive. It's much cheaper than you're gonna pay anywhere else. I saw it, I picked it up. There you go. Next up, we've got Port Charlotte OLC 01. This one is another banger from their Cask Exploration series. I've had a few of them. All of them are just incredible. So this is another one. I've only just popped it maybe like 2 days ago. I've had 1 or 2 drams. I don't know it well yet, but I can definitely tell you that it's an amazing whiskey. They all are. So it's one I'm going to recommend when I actually review it. So stay tuned for that review. Finally, the last bottle that I picked up recently is what I've got in my glass over there. It's my mystery pour for this evening. What that is Bunnahabhain 12 Cask Strength. This is one that you guys have been recommending to me over and over. Unfortunately, it's not sold here in Taiwan, so I had to have a buddy help me order it in from abroad. I'm very glad he did. You guys were not wrong about this stuff. It's fantastic. Again, I've only had a couple pours so far, but I'm a big fan. And finally today, I want to talk about my resolution for 2023. It's actually not that interesting or original, but I want to try a lot more stuff. And of course, that could be anything. But I don't want it to be like, I want to keep falling back on the same old brands that I already know I love. I want to explore new brands, new distilleries. I want to plug myself into the up and coming scene. There's a lot of new whiskey distilleries that are just starting to get, wider distribution. I'm hoping more make it into the Taiwanese market this year. English whiskey, sadly underrepresented here in Taiwan. I really hope I can get access to more. I want to try more Bimbers, Cotswolds. There's so much stuff out there that I want to try. And finally, before we wrap up, I'm putting together another Q&A video. I've done one of these before. I did it earlier this year, and I want to do another one. So this is where you guys can reach out to me and ask me anything that you might be curious about, any burning questions you might have. Put them down in the comments, and I'll see if I can address them in that upcoming video. And I guess that's it. We seem to have covered everything, so we'll call it a day. Guys, again, big thank you for all the support and feedback that I've had in 2022. It's been a very memorable year. I'm really looking forward to 2023. I think we're gonna have a great year. I wish you health and happiness and good tidings and all that warm stuff. And I guess we'll see you next year. Bye-bye.